from the heart of the city too busy to hate. A progressive voice making too much sense for corporate media's comfort. This is The Ron Show, where we the people come first. Here's your host, Ron Roberts.
Thank you so much for listening, whether it's on Georgia Now, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m., the replay 8 to 10 a.m., the following weekday morning on Georgia Now, or at 11 p.m. Progressive Voices via TuneIn. Highly unusual show today. I know we're like steeply, deeply political, and we will be. My guest later in the show will be Laura Jadid from Slate Magazine and firewalledmedia.com. She decided, being the liberal, anti-ICE, anti-Trump advocate that she is, an activist, freelance journalist, she'd go apply for an ICE job in Texas, and you'll be stunned to find out how little background they did on her. Sterling Thrill, a comedian who joins us every Friday, should be up a little bit later. I haven't gotten confirmation from him. Maybe he's under the weather. It is flu season after all. But she's feeling healthy, wealthy, and wise. Well, maybe not wealthy. We'll find out. And wise. And I am excited. Listen, I'm going to queen out for a little bit. Understand the gay guy here is just going to absolutely go bonkers because my first guest is none other than Margaret Cho. Her Choligarchy tour is coming through Atlanta, March 15th, Buckhead Theater. I'll include the show links at ronshowatl.com. You can also go to margaretcho.com. Margaret Cho joins the show!
Hi, thank you.
How can you be so subtle and humble with a lead-in like that? I'm sitting here gaying out, and you're all like, thank you.
I'm thrilled. I'm very honored. Thank you very much. What a great introduction.
Oh, thank you so much. So obviously, I know that the heart of this stand-up tour is deeply political. Like, you're kind of going back to your political commentary roots here to find the funny. Is it hard to really go out there on a nightly basis and be funny in such strange and dire and anxious times?
It's really scary, actually. I was performing really close to home, and I was in LA, and I did a joke about this administration, which I think is very valid, and a audience member caused a huge fuss and was screaming and then was kicked out, and then unfortunately I ran into her in the lobby and she threatened to shoot me.
Did she not know what she was going to, or was that the intent?
It was one of those nights where it was like there was a bunch of comedians. I was on a show with Nikki Glaser and Andrew Santino and quite a few other people. It was like a kind of a combo night. Yeah. But still, and it wasn't really it was a joke that I didn't find that harsh. But it was a woman. She was obviously MAGA, but also Latino. Mm. And she was really, really, really offended and threatened to murder me. Mm. And I was really, they were insisting that I call the police, and I just didn't want to escalate it. I felt badly for her, because I thought she's somebody that ICE would kidnap.
She also sounds like somebody ICE might hire too.
Exactly. Either or, one or the other. It was just so dramatic and, upsetting for everybody involved, including her, because she paid all this money and to see a show and she was kicked out. So, but it's that kind of thing. I haven't encountered it that many times, but that was the most recent. That was a couple of weeks ago. So, we're taking our lives into our own hands. This is something, when I really want to test the boundaries of the First Amendment, I'm really trying. I'm trying to have free speech, but I'm also trying to be an entertainer. But it's shocking when something like that happens and you question, like, well, the ready availability of guns, because of the Second Amendment, it's really scary.
Yeah, and you're heading into red meat territory here soon. You've got dates in Louisville and Durham, North Carolina, Charlotte. You're going to, obviously Tennessee and Atlanta. You're going to some spot. Atlanta. Listen, we're cool. We got you, baby. But yeah. I can't speak for Knoxville, Tennessee, and I can't speak for Durham, North Carolina, or Louisville, Kentucky. So good luck.
Well, thank you. I'm in Kentucky now. The shows last night was great. Mm-hmm. It is really progressive here. I think they're turning progressive because people have to. We have an administration that's lied to their constituents, and it's false prophets. It's all very clear. So people are kind of waking up, even though they kind of maybe were on the other side. They're really kind of waking up to the frustration. So it's becoming very different. I think the landscape of our country is becoming very different. And Atlanta, for me, has always been very progressive, very queer. It's like I'm like very Bulldogs Atlanta. That's my Atlanta.
Yeah.
My Atlanta is Buckhead and Peachtree and,
Buford Highway for sure, right? I mean, you do hit the
right.
That's where that's where the good food is.
That's exactly right. So that's the city that I know. I lived there over time. I just was there. I've been there in the last few months filming Will Trent.
Oh yeah.
Out there. So I love the city. Yeah.
Love the show too. I've grown very fond of it. They were filming around my condo building a lot in fact, my last two condo buildings in the last couple of weeks. So we may have brushed upon each other. Who knows?
I love that. I love that. But yeah, it's a wonderful show, and so it's to me it's a very progressive city. The state, when you go OTT, it's a little different.
Oh yeah. There's Georgia. Yeah, you're in Georgia then.
Yeah,
you're on your own.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I do love Atlanta.
You mentioned Louisville, and I'm glad you spoke up for Louisville because I didn't want to on Louisville. I think Louisville's a great little town. In fact, I almost took a job in Louisville when I was working in radio broadcasting at a top 40 station there. And I drove up there and I was like, man, what a great little city. Who knew that there was this here? And yeah, you're right. Louisville is a great little city. So kudos to Louisville. And look, Durham's fantastic too. It's just that when you leave Durham, when you leave Raleigh, Durham, Chapel, you're out there, man. You're in North Kakalaki. That's the same for Charlotte. And that's the way it is in a lot of the South. You've got these nice little cities, these nice pockets, but when you leave, you're in the South.
Yes. So it changes temperature. You can feel it. But at the same time, there's also a niceness of people in the South that is really palpable, and that's, I think you only get that when you live there and you understand it. You been there for a long time. So the niceness really is the base. So I truly love America and I believe in America. And that's why I hope this situation with this administration resolves itself.
Yeah,
because there's so many good things.
Yeah, well, and I feel like we're all hopeful as you are to see the fever finally break, right? I mean, it's why when I launched this show 3 years ago, I kept telling myself, I'm going to speak to my audience. I lived in the South all my life. I've been an undercover secret ops kind of guy, because I'm a white guy. I've been enjoying all that privilege, but I'm also the gay guy who kind of tapped into the marginalism a little bit. I understand the marginalization. I can listen to it. I can speak to it, and hopefully relay that to those who are open-minded enough. And you mentioned how kind people are in the South. Yes, they are. And even those that go to these, white nationalist Southern evangelical churches who show up to hear about Jesus but don't seem to come away learning much about Jesus' teachings, I keep wanting to reach out to them and bring guests on. That's why I talk to ministers and theologians all the time on the Progressive Lens in hopes that the message will just seep through.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I mean, you're on on tour to make people laugh, but obviously this is a different tour because again, you're kind of tapping into the current political situation.
Right. Well, because comedy is what brought us into this. It was kind of the manosphere of bro comedians with podcasts who signed off on this administration and kind of backed Trump en masse as a joke. I know all of these guys, and they're not conservative, but they did it because they thought it would be funny just to see. And, now they are actually kind of in a period of reckoning, whether that's Joe Rogan or Theo Von, both of which have come out against ICE and Theo, promoting Palestine, which is really interesting too. Yeah. So, but comedy got us into it. So I do believe that comedy can get us out of it. And I rely on comedic voices like Jon Stewart and John Oliver, people that are talking about it. I mean, people who are really trying to get us to feel better. Even Jimmy Kimmel, they're trying to get us to feel better about what's going on.
You mentioned Jon Stewart. I am low-key pushing for John to run in 2028. What do you think?
Oh, gosh. I love that. I used to be his opening act, and people love him. This is more than 30 years ago. And I would travel around the country with him in a limousine, and people would try to break into our car. Wow. They just love him so much. So he definitely has the charisma, the star power to really kind of move people to act. I think he would be great. I've always admired him. He's such a wonderful progressive voice, but he's just somebody that I think also collectively makes us feel like everything is going to be okay.
I agree, but in some respects I disagree lately because I can sense when I watch it, like he's on once a week on the Daily Show, right? I can sense the change in tone in the last few weeks. I think he understands the gravity of the current situation, and I hope other folks are sort of picking up on this. But like I said,
right.
I think because of his wealth of experience from doing the Daily Show and doing his Apple TV show and of course his podcast as well, I just feel like he's so well versed on so many issues that he's coming into this with the skill of being able to speak to people and find the humor in it, the entertainment value in it, but also with all that wealth of experience from sort of being a de facto journalist. I know that some people cringe when you think about the Daily Show and journalism, but there is a hint of journalism in there because they're trying to find the funny in what's actually happening.
Yes, and it is. I believe it is really responsible journalism because they're telling the truth. They're going out there. They're talking a lot to, like Georgie Klepper does. He talks a lot to Trump supporters. He talks a lot to MAGA. Yeah. Their voices are very well represented, and it's them. It's not a filtered version of them. It's actually them. Oftentimes we just need to know what they're thinking. And so I appreciate that part of the show. I think it's really intersectional, how they, work through everybody's different voice, whether it's Ronnie, mm-hmm. It's like so, precise. So it is intersectional. It is powerful that they have like this, with Josh and John. And I feel like they do such a good job. I really prefer to get my news from the Daily Show, frankly, than CBS.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. I mean, we're watching the walls of journalism sort of cave in on itself, where we've now it's almost like we've had to surrender CBS News, and I mean their ratings have tanked since that changeover. And I hate to see this. Like, I grew up on 60 Minutes. I hate to see what is potentially happening, and we see it happening in drips and drabs already, to 60 Minutes, because, again, that was an institution. People always, after football games, my family would be getting around the dinner table, and 60 Minutes would start ticking on, and it'd be playing in the background, or we'd be watching it, as a family unit. Even as a kid, I was drawn to some of that stuff.
Right. It was the voice of reason, and it was centrist, so that you really had it always from the middle, mm-hmm. And so there was something about it that everybody could trust. Mm-hmm. And really, that's not the case anymore. So it's really, really unfortunate.
We're with Margaret Cho, whose Choligarchy Tour comes through the South, Atlanta, Georgia, May 14th, Buckhead Theater. I'll put the concert, the show info at ronshowatl.com. I actually want to ask you a little bit about, like, from my radio past, we used to have a morning show in Augusta, and I'd have these comedians come in, having worked late the night before to do cornball morning radio and be funny when they're either tired and or hung over. Anyway, well, let's talk a little bit about that. We're with Margaret Cho on The Ron Show. It's Georgia Now, Progressive Voices via TuneIn or wherever you podcast. I'm with Margaret Cho. Her Choligarchy Tour comes through the South March 14th, as a matter of fact, at Atlanta's Buckhead Theater. Thank you so much for joining me. Talk to me about your early years in comedy, and let me see if these align in any way, shape, form, or fashion. When I used to work in morning radio back in Augusta, Georgia, in the mid-1990s, we had a deal with, I think it was called the Comedy House Theater, and they would bring in their comedians on, like, Thursday or Friday mornings, I can't remember which one, who had just done a show the night before, so they were up till 2 a.m. minimum, if not doing a little after partying at a bar or something like that after the fact. And then they would drag them into the radio studio at 7 or 8 a.m., where at which point I was in my 20s, a young kid in radio doing morning radio, was tasked with making them sound funny again. And it almost never, did you ever have to do that sort of stuff to kind of pay your dues?
Of course, you still have to.
Yeah.
You're never exempt from that. That's quite a rite of passage for comedians. We still do it. It's a very, it's a humbling profession. You need to kind of get out there and do it. So I get it. But yeah, it's very hard. That's a very tough thing when you have to get up and do radio. We all dread it.
Getting up at 5 to do a morning radio show, it was always something that we got used to after 5 days a week or whatever. But I'm telling you, those cringy moments when they would, we had like some big names. Tommy Chong came in and, oh man, what a flop. I mean, and it wasn't his fault. It was just that, like, he was working on like 2 hours sleep, hungover, and we were just, the goofy morning show people who tried to pull some funny out of a Q&A without a studio audience there to bring in some laughter. It was tough stuff.
It's very challenging.
Now, you speak about paying your dues. I mean, the obvious, rise and fall comes with just about anybody in comedy. I mean, we've seen some big names blow up and then become nothing. We see, like, with the political winds changing, Kathy Griffin's had to pay her dues, and God bless her. I'm so glad that she has, managed to overcome, that initial Trump stuff, which was, in hindsight, just absolute bonkers seriousness, nothingness. But also, she had to deal with vocal surgery, and she's out there still doing her thing. Talk to me about the ebbs and the flows of being in the business and having to now manage the political tone of it.
It's very hard, because you want to stay out there, you want to stay relevant, and yet I think people, they just change their minds and they want to be represented differently. And so as a comedian, I always thought of comedy as a progressive art form. It really is, because comedy just always questions what's happening. But to see so many comedians turn the other way is deeply heartbreaking, especially for us, because we're really tight in this community. Somebody like Roseanne is a heartbreak for me. To me, that's my equivalent of losing family members to MAGA.
Yeah.
She's like, in a lot of ways, somebody who raised me in comedy. I'm really disappointed. And it's a real struggle, because I think she has always been such a bright light in my life. And to not have her there because of what she believes in is really painful.
You mentioned losing family members, and I'm concerned, honestly, about someone that I have revered for many years. Like, I have long been a huge fan of the likes of Bill Maher. And I feel like we're just in this slow walk where we're losing Bill Maher, who claims to, and I want to believe him, still be a liberal, but he's very outspokenly anti-woke right now. And trying to find how that jibes with him still being a liberal.
It's hard. It's hard sometimes with those libertarians.
Yeah.
That libertarian voice who always wants to kind of speak up. It's like the trap of common sense. They use common sense as a way to justify racism, to justify transphobia and all this stuff. And that's like a really big problem. And Bill's a friend of mine. Like, I've gone on trips with him, private jet, to Hawaii and stuff. It's like incredibly disappointing to see him kind of fall into the trap of the common sense thing, to fall into the trap of the sort of libertarian, free thinking point of view, because he's losing sight of that progressive edge, because he was so brilliant at that. So it's really, that's a hard one.
Do you ever slip him a text or a DM or something like that? Maybe, baby, you're going too far with this. What's going on? Are you feeling okay? Are you under the weather? What's happening?
I don't think he wouldn't listen. He's very much like, he's a very independent thinker.
Yeah,
at least
stubborn.
He thinks he is, and he wants to be.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to sway people like that. Like, I would love to sway Dave Chappelle's opinion on trans people.
Yeah.
I would love, he's somebody that I grew up with.
Yeah.
I deeply divided with him on trans lives. We're experiencing a trans genocide as we speak, and he's a part of that. I'm really troubled by that. But again, we lose so many people to the idea of common sense. It's painful.
I'm 51 years old. I'm a gay white male, and I've seen where there's been this, I think, concerted effort to try and take the LGB and turn them against the TQIA+, and I'm not having it. Most of the community isn't either. But do you worry sometimes about that whole purity test thing actually affecting what happens, like, at the ballot box? Because I feel it happening and we've seen it happen with Hispanic American vote. We've seen it happening with the African American, specifically the male vote. I mean, our black women love them. They stay true to their virtues and hold the line. But I do worry about this effort to try and cull the herd a little bit.
Yes, it is scary. And we need the trans community. We need them as part of our union. We are not anything without the trans community. The trans community are why gay rights exist in the first place.
Yes,
so
thank you.
We can never abandon them. They're vital to our movement. And I, for one, will never, ever turn my back on it. Just the idea of that kind of separating ourselves, like the normal gays, that's a very log cabin Republican
and look,
point of view.
And that's what you go to a log cabin event, it's all white guys for the most part, some lesbians, but they all come from pretty much well-heeled backgrounds. I don't mean to generalize, but that does seem to be the case. You go to anything that's log cabin-y, and I guarantee you they've had a country club membership, grew up in a gated community, something along those lines. Daddy had money. It's almost obviously fiscal versus actual ideologically aligned.
Right. It is a thing, and it exists for a reason, but it doesn't mean that we all have to go that way. You know, our community is strong because we're not divided, and that's really important.
So what is it like when you go to these towns? Obviously, we're not in our 20s anymore. I know you're like 27 or something like that. So maybe it's a little different for you. When you go to these shows, obviously you're going to get flocked by the gays. Do they try to drag you out to the Eagle or something like that after the fact? Do they want you to go out and have shots? How does that work?
I used to do that like when I was much younger, but I don't have the energy to do it anymore. Also, I'm sober now, so I'm just not really fun like that anymore. but I do love a gay bar. I do love a drag show. So for me, it's really fantastic. But I haven't gone for a bit. I'm a little bit old to go out late at night. But I love when they come to my shows. You know, like there's a lot of drag queens who come out to my shows. I just did a show in Texas a couple of weeks ago, and the front row is this beautiful pageant drag queen who was like fully dressed with the wig and everything. It was really exciting. So it's a real treasure.
Here's what's funny. I do a morning show / podcast on Audio Gay TL with a female impersonator, Misty Shores from Atlanta Eagle. She's part of the Saturday Night Cabaret. And with stand-up comedian Kia Barnes, who is an African-American. She's what we call a stud. I learned that from her in the last 6 months or so, what a stud or a stud bud was and all that stuff. So like we do this podcast once a week that we divide up into morning show segments for Audio Gay TL. And I do know that Kia does a little Femme Friday thing at my sister's room on Friday night if you happen to come into town early at midweek in March. And of course, after the fact, if you want to go see Misty at the Eagle, I'd be happy to bring you with, and we don't have to do drinks because look, I'm 51. I don't drink that much either. I'm not a teetotaler, but I just can't hang. Like going to see Misty perform Saturday nights at 9:00 means I got to get a nap during the day.
Yes, we all need our disco naps. Right. I get it. That's so fun. I'd love to do that. We'll do that next time I come.
Fabulous. We'll keep that in mind. Listen, I want to thank you so much for doing what you're doing and understanding that this is not a moment to step out onto the sidelines and just try to be funny, but also politically relevant at the same time. I know it's a tightrope walk, again, with all that's going on in the world, and you're not a white person, you're not a white man, you're not a white woman. You're putting your neck out there a little bit, especially with the current climate that we're seeing with ICE and talk about people having their citizenship revoked and all that stuff. I just can't thank you enough for being, I'm just going to say it, brave. It's a time for bravery. It's a time for bravery and outspokenness. And I know you've got a lot riding on that, as we all do, but it's worth saying you're doing the work that needs to be done at a time that we need to be doing it. We keep asking ourselves, like, what would I do in Nazi Germany in the mid-1930s, late 1930s? And I think you've answered that for yourself.
Yeah. We're in it. We're doing it. This is it. So we've got to fight.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Margaret Cho is coming to the Buckhead Theater March 14th in Atlanta. Concert details, margaretcho.com. The Choligarchy Tour. Boy, that's hard to say. Rolling through the United States and hitting a lot of those red state areas as well. If you're listening outside the state of Georgia and you want to check her out. Margaret, I want to thank you so much for coming on my show today. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. We'll talk again soon.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go queen out.
Broadcasting 5 days a week to make common sense common again. This is The Ron Show.
Joining me, it's like comedy night here. I mean, and we're talking top tier stuff. The opening act for Sterling Thrill was Margaret Cho. So Sterling Thrill joins us for his Friday weekly segment. Sterling, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm really good, man. Moving up in the world because of Ron, Georgia Now Radio. Moving up in the world. I got Margaret Cho opening for me. Thank you so much, Margaret. So kind.
Yeah, the crowd is very much warmed up now. Actually, she was a fantastic conversation. I enjoyed having her on, and me, I'm a gay guy, so I was just like knelling out a little bit. But she's saving the funny for the show, and I get that. I understand that completely. But we talked a little bit about how dangerous it is. Like her whole Choligarchy tour is about pivoting back to politics and finding the fun in it. Challenging Kristi Noem to a duel at a med spa or something like that. It's all fine and well, but these people aren't messing around, and we've seen this in recent weeks. They're not messing around.
No, they're not messing around at all, man. And I never thought that Minnesota would be ground zero for maybe World War III. I mean, I don't know, but it's or the Civil War or something. It's a wild time. It is a crazy time. And kudos to Margaret Cho for trying to find some fun in that. I saw a thing recently from Conan O'Brien, and he was like, as a comedian, when you think things are too serious, you can't be funny, you've lost your greatest weapon. And so for me, I'm thinking, how to be funny in these hard times, because it's difficult, man.
I hate to always, because I feel like we fall into a trap when we say anything that relates back to the 1930s, 1940s in Nazi Germany. But I have to imagine stand-up comedy probably wasn't a burgeoning industry for that country and in Europe in general, and it was sort of in its infancy here in the United States as well. But like, how do you find the funny in that? That's not.
Well, one thing that I like that Mel Brooks did is that
Yes,
they would make the Nazis buffoons in the skits and stuff, and they said because. I forgot the reasoning exactly, but basically, that's a way to make fun of them, just kind of showcase the idiocy of that position.
So here's the thing, though. Like in today's current environment, when you've got Kristi Noem, Ice Barbie, cosplay Barbie, showing up in her gear and standing behind a camouflage podium. Right. To give America some bull about internal bleeding, things of that nature. Like the comedians have to feel like you're making this either too easy for us or disarming us by being the comedic relief, because this is outlandish. It's hyperbolic. It's above reproach, beyond the pale. Donald Trump just it's laughs a million, but like he's not joking either, except it. On the outside looks very funny. Like I feel like history is going to look back and go like, how do we make fun of this? This wasn't even satirical. They meant it. They
meant it. No. I have no idea. I mean, you're asking me, Ron. It's hard. I mean, it's hard out there. I mean, it's I'm finding creators and comics that are doing it too. They're trying to find some humor in these times. I saw a guy recently talk about ICE, talk about the government's position on Scar dying, or on Mufasa dying in The Lion King, and basically saying, look, he's trying to hurt Scar, and Scar's just doing his best. Scar said that he wants, I forgot the line, but basically just that positioning, just kind of calling out the evils that we see in relatable terms through humor. And I think that might be a path for us as satirists, as humorous people, as comedy writers and stand-up performers. And, you see the late night shows doing their best that they can. There's a team of writers there involved with the Late Show, and
have you ever applied to do any of that? By the way, I was always curious.
Yeah, man, I actually got a little further with the Tonight Show, and I didn't. So when you submit your packets, they own all that stuff, right? Because there's not a way, that you have to just give it to them. And basically, if they like it, they might hire you. Or if they want to use a bit of yours verbatim, they'll, maybe send you a check for that one bit. But so I've done that a couple times with SNL. Never got anywhere with SNL, but with Tonight Show, I got like close-ish.
Okay.
And one thing I know is it just takes a lot of tries, a lot of attempts, and I do know that a few of the jokes from my packet did make it onto air, and it's one of those things where it's like, because you release it, they have freedom. They can steal my exact joke if they want to, or they can just claim, well, it's parallel thinking. These are the kind of jokes we're doing anyway. So in any case, they have the right to do so. But what it does for me is it validates that, I'm in the right.
Yeah, you're in the ballpark.
I'm in the ballpark. I'm in the right realm here. Yeah, I did write a few jokes for Fallon that ended up making it on air that I didn't get any credit for.
Were you happy with the way he delivered them?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. It's like they changed or they just wrote their original joke that was just very basically just about the same as mine, which is all legal for them to do because I've signed the rights, whatever. But it was 6 in one, half a dozen the other. Sometimes as comedians, what we do is we try to like make the jokes as tight as possible, and you get to word economy and you try to change things. And at the end of the day, sometimes if you say it one way or say it the other way, it's the same effect. So it's, sometimes there's not a best way to say it. It's like, you got one or two, three choices. So it was one of those. It was like, yeah, it's about the same way I'd have said it, not different. Just, sometimes you got to find the cadence for the host voice too versus your own voice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, I sometimes you're writing jokes and you're trying to write them in the voice of the person who's going to deliver them. But for someone who is a stand-up comedian, you're probably writing them more for yourself. If you're shipping them off to Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon or someone along those lines, the delivery is going to be completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, just because when I was writing those jokes, I just kind of picture Fallon, like how he says. I watch the monologues most nights. I watch most of I love late night TV, man. It's kind of a, it's different now. It's not going away entirely, but I mean, I just think it's just different. It's definitely needed. It's just it's a medium that will evolve. And it's maybe a little behind the evolution point that needs to be.
I would think so too. Yeah, I mean, to me, the whole sets and I'm not saying not having a studio audience, but like the sets have not. I mean, you could look at the sets today on just about all these shows and go like, yeah, this was happening when Merv Griffin and Johnny Carr, like they haven't changed. There just hasn't been.
Yeah.
Like I that's what I liked about. I'm trying to think of her name. She was on E for a while. What's
Chelsea Handler?
Yes, I love Chelsea's setup. I thought that was different and unique.
Yeah.
And I hate that she didn't still do that, but obviously, she's got bigger fish to fry. She's doing her thing. Did you watch? Did you watch the Golden Globes last weekend by chance?
Man, I saw a joke or two, but I didn't watch them. Man, Nikki Glaser,
she killed.
I didn't watch her, but I saw a joke or two. She's great. She's been great for a long time.
Yeah. I thought she was really good. I really enjoyed, and I wish I didn't get to talk to Margaret about this because I just had so many other things. But I really loved the double whammy that Wanda Sykes delivered. Did you follow up on that?
Yes.
Like she managed to shank Bill Maher a little bit, and then shank Ricky Gervais on the way out, and speak up for trans lives. Man, I was like, damn, Margaret Cho. I mean, Wanda Sykes is a gangster, man. That was just badass.
Wanda Sykes is like that and has always been like that. And also, she had a late night show for a while on maybe UPN or something.
I believe so, yeah.
But I love Wanda Sykes. She's hilarious, man, and truthful. Mm-hmm. And, just things that we need to hear. And that's one good thing that comedians can do, comedy can do. We can just kind of say the way things are, the way they really are. Sometimes, hopefully, they land with people.
Yeah, and until the stormtroopers come in and tell you to shut it down. And again, I'm not sitting here suggesting that that's where we're heading. However, it's pretty ominous. And you know what? I had this buddy of mine, a softball teammate, who he DM'd me on Facebook yesterday, and he just wanted to get into a whole tete-a-tete about like, I think everybody's being a little hyperbolic, and I'm not, he swears he did not vote for Donald Trump at any point in time, that he's not a Donald Trump guy. He did. He said that, but he's like, don't you feel like this is a little over the top, hyperbolic, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, man. Like, I'm like, who am I supposed to believe? Them when they say what they say, Stephen Miller, Donald Trump, Christina, am I supposed to take them at their word, or am I supposed to go, they don't mean it?
Or once they give their word and then they're acting on the heinous things they said, I mean, then is that a good time to believe them?
Right. I mean, like January 6th to me was the lesson learned. And I said this all through the 2024 campaign. Here's the difference, y'all. This time he will have no guardrails. There will be no Liz Cheney's or Bill Barr's. Like, he's going to pick other people. And we've seen this. People whose lives were threatened in Congress on January 6th are going to vote in lockstep with his picks because they don't want it to happen again.
Yeah, man. He did. Yeah, exactly. And my thing, it's crazy that the people defend him. It's crazy that's what's wild. Not that it's happening. It's that people that I know in real life are defending the atrocities as if somehow there's a defense for any of it. And there, I saw that thing one time that said that nobody will defend a billionaire harder than someone that makes $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like, this, I could just say all these memes out loud. The trees defended the axe because the handle was made of wood.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the axe is in there chopping everything down. I mean, that's it. Like, people that defend or are Trump supporters at this point, like that, at this point, we've said that a million times. But I mean, even now, just further and further it goes. There's no way you can look at this and believe any rhetoric without some kind of thing in your brain saying, hey, this doesn't sound right. This doesn't look right.
I said this yesterday with a guest I had on yesterday that to me, it almost always comes down to race. It almost always comes down to race or racism. That is almost always the line that makes people do or think what they're going to do or think. In fact, this guy is running for a congressional district here in Georgia. It is a red-leaning district. Barry Loudermilk's the congressman, to give you an idea. And this guy is a white male, straight lawyer, triplets. You would think on the surface, looking at him and knowing his background, oh, he's going to be MAGA too. I mean, he is a Southern as fried chicken and an Auburn guy and all that stuff. So, but that's why he also thinks that he's the kind of Democrat that can win. But like we came down to is like it all boils down to racism. You talk about the axe and the trees rooting for the axe. As long as the wood is made of the right tree wood, it's different. Because if the axe is swinging at different trees, they're okay with it.
Yeah, but what they don't realize, they're all trees.
Yeah,
and that's what you don't see, man. And it's also, I mean, not a lot when you're white. Here's some white privilege for you. When you're white, you do have the privilege of falling into the temptation of, it's not happening to me.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, this is sad that it's happening, but I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of it's sad it's happening, but I'm safe. I mean, that's universal. Anybody can experience that. But if you are a white person in this culture right now, you are the person that has the privilege to have that thought.
But I also think there's the message in the Renee Good shooting, and I mean, obviously this wasn't predetermined or planned or anything like that. But the message sent in the Renee Good shooting is, if that's you better stay on the sidelines. You better not be protesting, because at the very least you're going to get smoke bombed. Or at the very most, you could, wind up in a body bag.
What I don't understand is, how do people see these things and still defend it? Yes, exactly. Though they want you to shut up, man. They're trying to invoke the Insurrection Act. They want you to be violent or shut up. They want you to be silenced. But if you're not silenced, they want to silence you. And if you try to fight back on that, they're gonna, try to invoke the Insurrection Act. That's why Minnesota's not, providing the police or their national or their state guard to try to fight that off, because then Trump would invoke that act.
Well, you talked about the Civil War. That would trigger the Civil War that we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're not talking about like literally state v. state. We're talking about Oregon blowing up and sending their National Guard to fight off ICE agents, or Minnesota, Tim Walz sending the National Guard again to fight off ICE agents. That's how this gets triggered.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I remember they made a movie about a Civil War last year or something.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And I remember, like, I got some family members that are all like, "Hey, man, the aliens is coming, not the ones from below the border, like from out of the space, Hey, man, and they're like, there's a Civil War on the thing, and I'm like, all right, buddy. And then now you hear these, you see what's happening in Minnesota. I'm like, oh, dang, that's yeah.
I feel as if I'm at the point now, seriously, I've said this a few times to friends. I don't know if I've said this on the show. If giant flying saucers came descending onto our atmosphere over our greatest cities, I'm willing to hear them out.
I got to say.
Like, humans' track record, let's hear them out. Anyway, we're with Sterling Thrill. We're going to pick up on the conversation when the Rancho returns on Georgia Now, Progressive Voices via TuneIn and wherever you podcast. All right, final few minutes with my buddy Sterling Thrill, his Friday segment on the Rancho. You can find him, by the way, at sterlingthrill.com. If you're looking to book him for maybe a private or business or a group event, you want to get some funny, you want to talk politics with him, he'll find the funny in it. Or if you just want to catch him at one of his shows when he's performing in the near future, again, sterlingthrill.com. Bro, again, this is another one of those things where we're like, oh, this is really funny. And then you go, oh, they mean it. Greenland.
They mean it.
Like, I think this is like a perfect microcosm that should be self-evident to us in this country. Like, MAGA should even pick up on this. Y'all, this is why living here, this is why we're not that perfect union, that we need to strive to the more perfect union. You got 60,000 people living on a giant island, a cold-ass island, and they're like, we don't want to join you. We like our universal health care. We like our democratic socialism. And we're like, but we're willing to give you guys $500,000 each. And they're like, nah. I mean, that to me is like that's the funny thing. It's like,
wait, that was the thing to give them each $500,000
well,
each.
that's one of the things that's kind of surfaced, and we've got reporters there on the scene who are like, asking, well, so would you do it for $500,000? And they're all like, nah,
no, we're good.
Yeah.
Not to be in America.
No, we don't want to be an American. We'd rather be a Greenlander, I guess, a native of Denmark. But like that to me is the funny thing. It's like they don't want to become what we are.
Wow.
I mean, if that doesn't knock us down a peg.
Yeah.
And here's the other part. Like on the other side of this, you got Donald Trump like listing 75 countries that we're not going to accept visa applications from, right? Because, they're dirty, seedy, poor countries. And it's like, if you are limiting the turnout to your party to only people who don't want to come here because they got it better at the party they're at, you're going to have nobody coming to the party. And maybe that's what he wants, but that's what's going to happen.
Isolationist, man, and land grabbing. What the hell country what modern country right now is taking land other than, I don't know, Russia? Like what country is out here trying to take more land? I mean, we're involved in two different countries right now that we're trying to get in. I mean, we're involved in several countries, but two countries that we're involved some kind of way of trying to like take them over in some capacity. What? Why are parts of country, like, why are we taking land? You know what I mean? Like, why? Like, I don't understand this guy. I don't understand the purpose. It's just world domination. This homie's just, what's that game? Risk?
Yeah, or how about again going back to George Orwell's 1984, where you had this big European megalith, and then you had the Asian and then everything else is over here. Like I feel like we're just inching closer and closer to it. I mean, dude, Orwell was a genius because he has been like pretty much spot on the predicting.
And that was 100 years ago, almost 80. Well, how many years ago was this?
Oh, when he wrote the book? Yeah, it was in the 1940s, I want to believe, 1930s, 1940s, yeah.
So 30s or 40s, and I mean, so we're 90 years, and like
he was better at this than the folks who were writing the Jetsons, because they told us we were going to get flying cars, and all we got is moving sidewalks.
We have moving sidewalks. We have the scooters. We have the little scooters that everybody's getting wrecked on and everything and running out into traffic with. And everything.
Well, you used to live in Atlanta, right? You remember seeing that, right? I almost saw a guy get clobbered by a vehicle because when the light turned green, the car starts moving, and he should have seen the stop sign he nearly got clobbered. Like, I'm stunned I didn't see him pop off a hood like the ICE agent absolutely didn't.
Yeah. Absolutely didn't. Exactly. Yeah, I flipped a scooter in the park. What's the park in Atlanta? Piedmont Park, right?
Oh yeah.
So I flipped a scooter, and I was circling this one area, and there was a guy in there, and this guy was he just, I don't know, something about him. He seemed rich. I mean, he had a dog without a leash on, and they're like doing exercise. He's talking to the dog in another language. I was like, this rich guy, whatever. I'm circling him just because I'm not circling him. I'm just going around a circle, and he's in this green part in the middle. And I'm just, well, I got the phone. I'm like, I'm going so fast on this little scooter, and I pull my phone out to film how fast I'm going. And you got to use both hands on that. And I found out. I flipped the scooter. And I skipped myself all up, and the guy comes to me, and I'm instantly like, "Oh gosh, I'm embarrassed." And I can't stand the rich dude, no dog leash is coming up to me. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I look up, it's Tom Hiddleston.
Whoa,
Loki. So this is Atlanta. I got so many Atlanta stories. This is Atlanta. It's Tom Hiddleston, Loki, and he looks at me, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I just stare at him. I'm bloodied up in my hands. I stare at him. I'm like, are you Hiddleston, bro? He's like, yes, I'm Tom Hiddleston. And he stuck the T because I didn't say the T. I said Hiddleston. He's like, I'm Tom Hiddleston. And then he just stared at me with those deep, like, eyes. He just looked like very intent. And I was like, I felt like I was on a Marvel movie because I'm also bloody.
Yeah.
And my family came up, and they're like, is he a doctor? I'm like, no, it's Loki, And my family wanted to meet him and everything. And then my kids talking to him. I'm like, hey, this is fun and all. I got to go to the ER. So I didn't get any pictures with him, but we left. And he told me he said I had to get it professionally cleaned or whatever. And I was like, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
And went to the ER and I got my tetanus shot because I fell and scraped myself in Atlanta. And the doctor was like, last time you had tetanus shot? I was like, it's been a while. She's like, you getting one today? I was like, okay. Thank you so much for that. Anyway, man, yeah, Atlanta, you find, so that's the last time I've been on an electric scooter like that. And the last time I talked to Tom Hiddleston.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Same with me and Owen Wilson when he clobbered me and my now ex-husband at the Rainbow Crosswalks in Midtown. Like did we nearly just get hit by Owen Wilson? It was you can't miss that schnoz. That was Owen Wilson. It was for sure Owen Wilson.
Did you get hit by the nose? Is that what you had to jump on? Was it?
Oh, that would have caused some internal bleeding for sure, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh, my gosh.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, listen, I got about 2 more minutes left in this segment. Anything else we need to hit on that we haven't hit on? I think we drained all the funding we can out of this last week, if there's anything to find out.
I mean, I'm sure, there's definitely some... I don't know, man. They're throwing parties at Mar-a-Lago wearing dog faces, dog masks. Did you see that?
Did Mar-a-Lago become a gay bar or something? That's like that's a gay thing, like the whole like pup dad son thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but it is Florida, so I'm sure when you go to Mar-a-Lago parties, the Grindr app's probably popping off.
Oh, just like any other conservative event. If there are conservative males in good clothing, I'm telling you, turn on your Grindr app. You're going to get a connection. Anyway, Sterling Thrill joining us each Friday, man. I appreciate you giving us the time. You can find out about Sterling, whether you do want a private booking. You can do that in person, virtual. You can also find out about his upcoming stand-up gigs as well. You got to come to Atlanta again soon, man. Let's make that happen.
Man, heck yeah, dude. I got to hit up, was it Laughing Skull and the other one in Atlanta?
There's a few. Helium's out now. Yeah, we got a lot of those.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Ron. Thanks for letting me be on this packed show. Thanks for all you're doing for democracy, man. We appreciate it.
From the heart of the city too busy to hate, a progressive voice making too much sense for corporate media's comfort. This is The Ron Show, where we the people come first. Here's your host, Ron Roberts.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. Whether it's on Georgia Now, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m., the replay the following morning, 8 to 10 a.m., which means today being Friday, or if you're listening Monday, then that's what you're getting. You're getting Friday's episode, 8 to 10 a.m. on Georgia Now. 11 p.m. Progressive Voices via TuneIn or wherever you podcast. Let's see. I want to thank again Margaret Cho, giving me the opportunity to hang out with her for a little bit by call, of course. She's coming to the Buckhead Theater March 14th, part of her Choligarchy tour. Sterling Thrill for joining me for his routine Friday segment. It's anything but routine with him, though, because we're always kind of covering the headlines and trying to find the funny, and sometimes we do, and sometimes it's just good to commiserate together with a few chuckles in between. Later in the show, Laura Jadid joins us. Yes, that Laura Jadid, the Slate reporter, the freelance reporter, actually, who, through Slate, actually, reported on her exploits trying to get hired by ICE, and how easily it turned out it was, alarmingly so. I think that's pretty relevant with all that's going on the last couple of weeks. Minneapolis, at the breaking point, at the brink of just literally spilling over into the streets in Minnesota and throughout the country. I think it takes an immense amount of discipline that Governor Tim Walz hasn't deployed the Minnesota National Guard to take on the ICE National Guard, I guess. Meal Team 6, as I call them. But keep your eye on that. Like the civil war that we dream of happening, state v state. This is how this happens. And well, I'll leave it at that. Let me point to a local story real quick that's coming out of Clayton County in the last couple of hours. Joseph Papp at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reporting a Mexican national died in the custody of Immigration and Customs Enforcement at a facility in Lovejoy, according to the Mexican consulate of Atlanta. They released a statement that this happened Wednesday. The detainee, whose name has not been released, was being held at the Dayton Detention Facility in Clayton County. The consulate said they quickly established contact with family members of the deceased in Mexico and in the U.S. We don't know his age, we don't know his health conditions, et cetera, and so on. ICE officials did not immediately respond to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution for requests for comment. In a statement, the consulate said that they'd asked officials to investigate what happened and do what's necessary to ensure a fast and transparent probe. The consulate is working to have the body returned to Mexico per the family's wishes, according to the statement. In the statement, they write, the Mexican government expresses its most sincere condolences to the family of the compatriot and reiterates its commitment to provide consular protection assistance to our community. Wednesday's death marks the third Mexican national and ICE detainee to die in Georgia over the past year. And if you're keeping track, that's 34 people that have died since October 2023 while in ICE custody nationwide, compared to just 9 deaths in the last 4 years at the hands of those who are here illegally. In May, Abelardo Avellaneda Delgado, age 68, died while being transferred to South Georgia's Stewart Detention Center, which is one of the country's largest ICE facilities in the country, according to Joseph Papp. From a jail in Valdosta, his relatives told The Guardian he had no known pre-existing health conditions before the arrest. To which I would say, okay, he was 68. In June, Jesus Molina Vella, also from Mexico, died from apparent suicide while being held at the South Georgia immigrant jail. He was found with a ligature around his neck and unconscious by correction officers. Again, we have no idea about this most recent casualty in ICE custody in Clayton County. Just passing along what we know about prior. Molina Vella's death was the third death by suicide at Stewart since ICE began detaining immigrants there in 2006. So there's that. We have also been given the all clear here in Metro Atlanta, another nerve-wracking situation around the campus of the Centers for Disease Control and Emory University. Alexa Stevens at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reporting that the Emory University campus given the all-clear Friday, shortly before 3 o'clock Eastern Time, about 2 hours after an emergency alert was issued. As of reporting Friday afternoon, details about what prompted the alert, not immediately released, but the emergency post sent panic through the community. Just 5 months, guys, has it been 5 months? After a separate incident in the area left a police officer dead. Friday's alert was posted on the university's website shortly after 1 o'clock. That statement, there is a police emergency in the Emory Atlanta campus at Emory Point near CDC. The alert said, avoid the area. Updates to follow. God. Moments later, the alert updated to state police are on the scene. Continue to avoid the area. Updates to follow. Well, they gotta work on their bedside manner with these statements, right? The following message posted on the university website just before 3 p.m. The emergency for the Emory University Atlanta campus has been lifted. All clear, all caps. Please contact emergency personnel as needed. Again, from Alexa Stevens at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Heavy police presence seen in the area about 2 o'clock, later dispersed. Jason McDonald, spokesperson for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution a suspicious person was spotted in the Emory Point area, prompting the alert. The CDC campus increased security at the gates and advised people to avoid the area. By 2:30, officers from both the university and Atlanta police departments were seen leaving the area. Let me turn to the, can you call it a big announcement? It's really like much ado about nothing. It's like somebody coming in with a cake made of Cool Whip. Ooh, cake. No, it's just Cool Whip. Not much to it. Jennifer Shutt, State's Newsroom's Georgia Recorder, reporting that President Donald Trump outlined, that's all it was, an outline, his health care proposals to Congress Thursday, asking lawmakers to approve several broad policy changes, quote, without delay, but left out any mention of enhanced tax credits whose expiration has left some Americans with skyrocketing costs. How do you pass something that needs to be substantive to deal with healthcare costs now when there's no substance in the bill to deal with, It's all show. It's all dog and pony show with this administration. Let me go back to Jennifer Shutt. Healthcare costs, especially the rising price of health insurance, have become a frequent talking point for politicians from both political parties following last year's government shutdown, when Democrats repeatedly called on Republicans to extend the now expired enhanced tax credits. I mean, who couldn't see that coming, right? For Affordable Care Act marketplace plans. Trump reiterated in a 5-minute video that he wants Congress to give Americans money directly so they can use it to offset the cost of health insurance or health care, a proposal that has so far been unable to get the traction needed to advance on Capitol Hill. Here is that rollout announcement.
Today, I'm thrilled to announce my plan to lower healthcare prices for all Americans and truly make healthcare affordable again. We're doing things that nobody's ever been able to do. We're calling it the Great Healthcare Plan. Instead of putting the needs of big corporations and special interests first, our plan finally puts you first and puts more money in your pocket. The government is going to pay the money directly to you. it goes to you, and then you take the money and buy your own health care. Nobody's ever heard of that before, and that's the way it is. The big insurance companies lose, and the people of our country win. This proposal locks in the massive discounts on prescription drugs that my administration is achieving through our most favored nation drug pricing agreement. Now, when you hear about that, for 40 years they've been trying to do it, but they never were able to do it. No other president was able to do it. I got every other country to approve it.
Come on,
by the use of tariffs and other things. They all approved it. Nobody else got it. No other president got it. And for the most part, they didn't even try because they felt it was impossible. It'll bring down drug prices 80, 90%, in some cases, just numbers that nobody's ever heard of before.
Oh, my God.
Your prescription drugs will come way, way down. And under this policy, the prices of many drugs will be slashed by 300, 400, and even 500% starting this month at the TrumpRx.gov. So instead of Americans paying the highest drug prices in the world, which we have for decades, we will now be paying the lowest cost paid by any other nation. So any other nation that's paying the lowest cost, that's what we're going to pay. And the American people will get the savings. So I have to reiterate, the lowest price in the world is what you're going to pay. Before, you were paying the highest price in the world by far, and the politicians did nothing about it. So I'm asking Congress to complete the work that we've started. Next, my plan would reduce your insurance premiums by stopping government payoffs to big insurance companies and sending that money directly to the people. Obamacare was designed to make insurance companies rich. I call it the Unaffordable Care Act, with billions of dollars in taxpayer subsidies that helped their stock prices skyrocket over 1,700% as you paid more money for health care every single year, more and more. The premiums went higher and higher.
Okay, first of all, he's complaining about a lot of parts of the Affordable Care Act that were negotiated into the Affordable Care Act by conservatives who then never showed up to vote for it. So let's point that out. I mean, you know, I've said this many times before. If you wanted liberals, if you wanted to actually give the American people a liberal health care plan, there would have been some element of single payer, universal health care, Medicare for all, something along those lines. Liberals didn't get their wish list in the Affordable Care Act. What they got was a rehashed Romney Care from Utah, or essentially what the Affordable Care Act was, which was a following of a blueprint drafted by the Heritage Foundation, the conservative Heritage Foundation, in the face of the 1990s threat of universal health care with the name Hillary Care attached to it. Let me go to you with the KFF Foundation's response to this announcement, which is a lot what I said. Oh, it's a cake carved out of Cool Whip. There's not much cake. The president's plan is vague, they say, and without knowing more, it is impossible to say what the implications would be for people with pre-existing conditions who rely on the ACA markets. The framework does not explicitly say people with pre-existing conditions are even protected. The short description leaves open key questions, including, is it only the enhanced premium tax credit dollars that would be converted to a savings account, or are other taxpayer subsidies included in the extra? Next question. Who is eligible for this financial help, and how would it be calculated and dispersed? Who will end up paying more and who will pay less? Would the funds be limited to out-of-pocket costs, only be used for premiums? Would any savings account money be in addition to or in lieu of premium tax credits? And would enrollees have a choice? Fifth question. Would this new financial support be available only on the ACA marketplace, or could it be used to purchase health insurance that discriminates against people with pre-existing conditions, potentially leading to instability in the ACA marketplace? They conclude, until the great healthcare plan takes shape and details are filled in, it leaves open questions about out-of-pocket costs, premiums, federal spending, and healthcare coverage for people with pre-existing conditions. And I love the part where he said this right here.
So I'm asking Congress to complete the work that we've started.
Yeah, this is like doing a group book report, and somebody comes in and gives you a piece of paper with the title of the book report and hands the paper to the rest of the group and says, all right, I need you to
complete the work that we've started.
Yeah. So, again, we had an entire government shutdown. Y'all, that was October. We're talking nearly 3 months ago, more than 3 months ago, actually, when this was all coming to a head. And 5 months after the One Big Beautiful bill was being bandied about, and Democrats were saying then, we got to do something about these ACA subsidies. They're going to expire at the end of the year. We got like 9 months and Republicans like, not now, we'll deal with it later. And then October, Republicans like, not now, we'll deal with it once you reopen the government. Well, the government's been reopened for quite a while now. I mean, several weeks. And in fact, there's another government shutdown looming again. And Republicans are now wanting to start fresh with something all new and something that would clearly raise more questions than answers given. And now Congress has to fill in the gaps. Okay, Congress, good luck with that. Substantive policy is something Republicans just are not good at. However, Georgia Representative Mary Margaret Oliver, Democrat, has some substantive policy ideas when it comes to affordable housing. I'll share those next when the Ron Show returns. On Georgia Now, Progressive Voices via TuneIn. Representative Mary Margaret Oliver, who I've asked to come on the show. We'll try and get her on here in the very near future. Penned a piece, an op-ed for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, speaking about affordability. Hey, look at this. Democrats are talking about affordability. Republicans are defending ICE. Representative Oliver writes, Georgia House of Representative Democrats have heard repeatedly that housing affordability remains out of touch for too many, she writes. Now, this is substantive stuff that she's going to write about, or that you're going to hear me read that she's written about, as opposed to, here's my term paper, title only, fill it in, Congress. Good job, Donald. In response, Mary Margaret Oliver writes, we have assembled a practical set of housing proposals for consideration in the 2026 General Assembly. We are seeking a good faith partnership with House Republican leadership to prioritize ideas, introduce legislation, hold hearings, and advance budgetary and policy solutions. This is not about partisanship, but achieving results for working families and for those arriving to own a home. The housing shortage is well documented by renters, homeowners, and businesses, and developers alike. Regional data confirms housing as Georgia's top economic pressure, with homeownership increasingly out of reach. The time for additional study has passed, she writes. Measured bipartisan action is warranted. She continues, we present 3 categories of proposals and invite others to offer ideas also. Gauntlet. Number 1, lower costs for homeownership or tenancy. Number 2, strengthen tenant rights. Number 3, more doors, build more houses. Under the lower costs for homeownership or tenancy, she says accountability for out-of-state investors. There's bipartisan agreement that corporate-owned homes are a tremendous burden on Georgia renters and would-be homeowners. Out-of-state investors are targeting Georgia and are purchasing houses to rent. These investors own nearly 80,000 single-family homes in Georgia, and in many counties, corporations own over half the homes available for rent. This increases prices and lowers housing stock, and tenants are left with a faceless landlord and poorly maintained properties. As a residential realtor, I can say, hear, hear. Mary Margaret Oliver continues, we must put an end to this. House Bill 399, a bipartisan bill passed in 2025, requires out-of-state investors to use Georgia real estate agents and maintenance staff. Other bills were introduced to limit the number of houses that could be purchased. A restriction on out-of-state purchases of single-family homes also needs to be revisited. She then continues, eliminate unfair tax breaks. Why should a corporate developer receive a depreciation tax advantage intended for single families? HB 616 addresses this disparity and requires corporations to pay their taxes without this loophole. Prevent price gouging. Digital tools that maximize rent should be prohibited. We have talked about this on this show, following the lead of other states. Next, property tax relief for essential workers. Property tax will be a focus this session. We propose feasing property taxes for all law enforcement officers, teachers, and healthcare workers, making up to 150% of their area's median income. And housing stability for former foster children. Yes, this is important, y'all. This is part of what creates the unhoused situation in Georgia, and in particular here in Metro Atlanta. Former foster care children who turn 18 years old are becoming homeless at a disheartening rate. We must distribute federal vouchers to protect our vulnerable young adults and use available federal money for this uniquely vulnerable population. On to the second plank, strengthening tenant rights. She writes, define habitability. HB 404 passed in 2024 and stated rental units must be habitable, but did not include a definition of habitability. This has led to confusion, litigation, and continued poor living standards. Since there's already an accepted standard relating to code compliance, we should just codify that, she writes. Then, codify repair and deduct protections. Georgia case law allows a tenant to repair and deduct expenses to correct defects that the landlord refuses to repair. This case law should also be codified. Yes, absolutely. Allow rental registries. The statutory ban on a rental registry should be repealed. This would enhance landlord accountability and ultimately improve housing safety while still respecting local authorities. And then transparency and tenant fees. Fees for tenant applications or occupancy should be disclosed and defined by statute. Yes. And by the way, I would add to that, any property tax deduction that a property owner gets if they are a residential income generator, a landlord, they should also share that property tax cut with the tenant. Like, it shouldn't just be a savings padding the profitability, right? The third plank, more doors, building more houses. Mary Margaret Oliver writes, modernize zoning procedures. We have developers ready to get to work building more homes, but some local zoning rules are too onerous to let them. HB 400, the Choice Act, provides incentives for localities that want to give their people more options for their housing stock. Next, expand tiny house options. Homeowners should be allowed to build secondary homes on their property if they want to, and the local and state government should not be telling people how to use the extra space in their yards. Next, expand tax credits for home ownership. Current law allows sellable tax credits for building apartments for lower income tenants. That is so stupid. These credits could also be used to support home builders who sell to buyers priced out of the market, or to key workers like police officers, teachers, and nurses, and could be expanded statewide through legislation. I love that continuing theme. Yes, by all means. Next, finance affordable home construction. Developers make more money building expensive homes, so many developers are focused there. To allow developers to build homes for working people, we must provide financing. As such, we have crafted legislation to codify significant public benefit to include building homes for households whose income does not exceed 80% of the area's median household income. Now, this is meaty policy, unlike what you got in the healthcare policy from the White House yesterday. She concludes, we also look forward to working with Governor Brian Kemp to oversee the $125 million appropriation for developers to build infrastructure and moderate single-family homes through the One Georgia Authority and the Department of Community Affairs for workforce housing. While currently limited to rural areas, this may be a model for our suburban and urban areas as well. These legislative proposals are ready for action, she writes. There are many other and perhaps better ideas we should consider. House Democrats ask for and hope for a detailed and public bipartisan discussion. We, she writes, are ready to go to work. Look at that. Actual meat and potatoes on the plate instead of handing you the plate and saying, here's dinner. I'm just saying. Anyway, one of the more viral names of the last few days is that of Laura Jadid. A lot of us have done Google searches on her recently. You know who didn't? The people that wanted to hire her to be an ICE agent. They'd have discovered she ain't really fond of ICE and she ain't really fond of Trump and his immigration policy. But, okay, well, hire her. Yeah, she actually reported on this for Slate. She's a freelance journalist. She is with firewalledmedia.com as well. That's her little venture. And listen, while she did a really great job, I mean, thorough, you felt like you were there the way she wrote this. Very descriptive. You got the whole vision in your head when you read this piece in Slate. By the way, through a firewall, I apologize. We'll have the link in the show notes at ronshowatl.com. Although you can do a $5 subscription for like 3 months and read it and cancel the subscription so you don't get charged for the rest of the year. It's like $120 or something like that. Anyway. She does a fantastic job, but I still have questions. Like, did you see name tags on anybody in this facility that was looking to hire you? And why was your military experience less relevant than law enforcement experience? To me, that's a red flag right there, because that talks to the sort of person that they are interested in hiring for ICE agent positions. Anyway, Laura Jadid joins us to answer those questions and more when the Ron Show returns on Georgia Now, Progressive Voices via TuneIn or wherever you podcast.
This is The Ron Show.
Oh, man, we've already had like a monumental show today. My thanks again to Margaret Cho for joining us in the first hour, my good friend Sterling Thrill as well. I'm now joined by, I think, the hot name in journalism right now. Her name is Laura Jadid, a freelance journalist based in New York City. Bylines include The New Republic, New York Magazine, Politico, Rolling Stone. She focuses on American conservative and far-right movements. Not that you've had anything to report on in the last 10 years, Laura.
It's been so boring.
Yeah, right. Nothing to report on. Laura is the interloper, the one who went undercover to essentially apply for a job at ICE. And, of course, now since then, right-wingers, the pundits, et cetera, they're doing their best to do their oppo bio, to trash you, et cetera, and so on. But this was a pretty alarming story that posted to slate.com. I even paid for an account at Slate so that I could read the whole thing. Right. I mean, and congrats on Slate. They have found a way to make sure that nobody reprints that stuff because I looked. Anyway, it was $5. I'm not going to complain about it. Anyway, I want to talk a little bit about your experience. First of all, did you, as if you were going on a blind date, have somebody on speed dial that you could call or text if need be? You know, bail money, et cetera, and so on.
I had somebody where it's like, if you don't hear from me in 3 hours, please start to make some phone calls. That was the system I had.
Yeah. So whose idea? I mean, was this just all you on your own? Did you collaborate with others to formulate a game plan to go apply for an ICE job?
So this was me. I've done a lot of stuff. I mean, I go to conservative events a lot. I'll go to conferences. I've gone to a lot of protests and rallies. I don't know how many times I've seen Trump speak. So this is actually not that unusual for me to go to something like this. I just, I don't know. If you go in and you smile real big and you act friendly, it's amazing how far you can get. I didn't expect to get as far as I did, but I did expect to get in the door.
Yeah. You say you hang out at conservative events. Now, I've been told from some of my other gay male friends that hanging out near conservative events and turning on your Grindr or your Scruff apps will deliver a bountiful harvest of potential first dates.
I have also heard this.
Yeah. What is it like for a single woman who's going to a conservative event? Again, do you have like the little mace thing in your pocket just in case you need to, anything like that?
I have kind of a don't mess with me attitude that's done me pretty well. I don't really get harassed anywhere I go. I don't know what that's about, but I'm pretty happy about it. People will come up and talk to me. People like to talk to people who, look friendly and approachable, but I've never had any real like harassment stuff. People who do that, I just kind of shut down. It's no worse than a nightclub with skeevy guys. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's fine.
Yeah. It's like going to a strip club essentially, except the women are clothed.
Yes.
Right. So now,
usually in sequence, but that's fine.
Of course. Oh my God, the sequence. Oh my God. Talk to me about in the hair. The higher the hair, the closer to God.
Oh my God.
Talk to me about the strategizing. What did you do to strategize this? Because again, this is something like you're going into enemy. Did you feel like you were going into enemy territory here, and that you needed to strategize game plan beforehand and even an exit strategy?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's funny. My concern wasn't that things would turn out how they ended up turning out, which we'll get to. My concern was that they were going to figure out who I was while I was there, and I was going to be in trouble. ICE isn't like known for their kind and gentle approach. There are two things about me that I think are important for this story. One is that I'm an extremely Googleable person. You type my name into the computer and you will instantly find my social media, the articles I've written. I'm not a subtle person. I don't make my opinion of ICE and the Trump administration hard to find. It's very obvious immediately on looking up me up that I'm not the recruit ICE is looking for.
Yeah.
Also, though, I'm a veteran. I deployed to Afghanistan twice to the 82nd Airborne Division. I have some civilian analyst experience that matches my military experience. So a skills-based essay makes me look like a decent candidate at first glance.
Yeah.
So the plan was, I drew up the resume. You can see that in my Substack, firewallmedia.com. I've got it posted there if you want to see the skills-based essay I had that got me in the door, but it got me in. I, gave them my essay. I did my interview, or my resume, did my interview. And my expectation was that it would be enough to get me through the first round. I'd have my interview. I'd get out before anyone ran the paperwork. And then that would be the last I'd hear from these guys unless they got really, really angry.
Yeah. And that never seemed to come to fruition. So Walk us through the scene. You do a great job, by the way, in the article of sort of describing the setting and the turnout. Were you surprised by the turnout? It didn't seem like there was like a mass quantity of humans there to take these jobs.
Yeah, no, I was really pleased. I was extremely tough to find it. Yeah, it was.
And I mean, you were in Texas for crying out loud. You'd think you would be able to, like swing a shoestring and hit 6 or 7 applicants, right?
Right. I think that is important. And it's honestly, I don't think people, I don't think I've talked about that enough. This is the heart of Texas. You would expect if anywhere was going to be full of would-be recruits, it would be here. But, I was they gave us all time slots. We had to sign up for time slots on Eventbrite, a very professional military platform they have going on there. So I signed up for my little time slot at 9 a.m. and I got there. And, usually time slots would imply like, oh, we don't want everyone to throng us all at once. Well, that was not of concern. There was no line to get through security. There was no line to give them my ticket. There were 6 people ahead of me in line to do my very brief interview that I did. And at no point were there more than like 150 people in the venue at any given time.
Okay. So when you were kind of looking around, you said you saw 6 applicants ahead of you. Can you kind of in general give us an idea of what we're looking at?
Yeah, so it's going to probably shock you to your core to learn that they were almost entirely male. It was an almost entirely male audience group of people applying. A lot of like the kind of thick-necked police guy types, like the kind of guy who's like do steroids but don't know how to work out, like that kind of genre of person.
Line. I love that line, by the way. You had the thick-necked male that doesn't know how to work out, and then you had the thick-necked male that clearly does know how to work out, right?
Yeah, we had a few of those. You had a few of like the kind of like would-be spec op types with big beards, looking like they do know how to work out to their, in their credit. And then the dorks. You had the pencil neck dorks who just, again, like, I don't know, maybe they're lovely people inside the ICE event, probably not, but that kind of genre. The dork genre.
And we've covered a lot in the last couple of days, the sort of recruitment efforts. I know PBS did a great story about this, which is why their funding probably got pulled, long before, about the sort of advertising that goes on to recruit ICE in social media. I mean, they're clearly looking for the young white male that's at home playing video games on Discord. I mean, that's the vibe I sort of get.
100%.
Yeah. Were the walls there papered with posters that were of a similar sort of lingo and ethos?
Yeah. So the Arlington Esports Arena, it's for esports. So there's like this giant.
Right there. You're in an esports arena.
Right. Exactly. It's like, this is the dorkiest place they could have this, but sure. I mean, I love video games. This isn't like a diss on video games, but it is pretty dorky though. There's like the big, like, kind of Tron looking screen up at the front. And they had those Defend the Homeland posters, kind of like, static images up there. And then they had this video that was playing on loop, one of which was like, the history of ICE. And that was pretty normal. It was made during the Biden administration. That was pretty normal. And then the other one, though, was just this like dramatic music laid over, ICE, HSI guys like busting in doors and going into the back of restaurants and just being really cool. And they just played it over and over again. I can hear the music in my head as I'm talking to you. Like it's traumatic.
So it's stuck in your brain forever.
Oh yeah, it's never going away.
Okay, so you apply, you go through the first, and tell me about the people you're dealing with here. It didn't seem. I mean, were these DHS officials, or was this like a third party business that was doing the screening, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if she could have been a DHS employee for all I know, but this definitely wasn't like your ICE agent. This was like a very normal seeming middle-aged woman who just called me over. There was a black folding table and a really uncomfortable folding chair, and I sat down and the interview, she was like, what's your name, date of birth, how long were you in the military for, where would you like to be stationed as an ICE agent? And that was about it. It took about 6 minutes. That was the entire interview. And then she looks at me, she says, okay, well, we're processing applications from people who have law enforcement experience first. So you're kind of at the back of the line. But we will get to you, and we'll either get to you, today or in a few days. But there are people who've been waiting since yesterday, so don't expect it to be today. At which point I relax. It's like, oh, they're not going to run it today, and I can just, I can chill out. I'll be back in New York City before they figure out who I am.
Right. Okay, so let me hone in on something real quick. You mentioned that you had military experience, and they were prioritizing law enforcement experience over military experience. I think there's something to read into that, honestly. We talk about this a lot when it comes not just to ICE agents or what DHS is targeting with CBP, but also what the kind of human that law enforcement tends to attract versus the kind of human that military experience tends to attract. Do you read into that as well?
I completely agree. Yeah. I'm not saying no. Obviously, there are some pretty messed up vets out there, and there are some vets who have some real bad opinions. But law enforcement, it seems to be, there's this desire to, police other people, and it's a position of power. And I'm not saying everybody that signs up to be law enforcement is awful, but it is definitely, I think, a place where sadists can find a home.
Well, and after George Floyd and Ferguson, Missouri, there seemed to be an effort over the last 10 years or so to sort of clean that up, to sort of make law enforcement do a better job of screening its applicants and policing itself, literally. In the ICE incident in Minneapolis, it surprised a lot of folks that ICE agents aren't required, like cops are in most jurisdictions, to wear body cameras. That this guy was actually using his handheld mobile phone to record video. So it feels as if they're almost looking to attract the sort of individual that couldn't be hired now by law enforcement because they might be a little too pre-Ferguson sketch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's correct. And I think it's almost explicitly correct. I mean, this whole, we're going to de-wokify everything, which is code for we're going to make sure that nobody cares about human life or, any kind of reasonable use of force. I mean, it's really very blatant. This is, I heard someone the other day use the few bad apples argument for ICE, and it's like, that's not the case. You can't use that argument, regardless of what the people are like individually. Like the people at the top are cheering this on. They are openly recruiting with these videos and these posters and these neo-Nazi slogans. They are seeking a very specific kind of person here.
Yeah, that whole defend the homeland music stuff, it reminded me of Starship Troopers, the first one, the first movie. It was like,
Yeah.
I mean, I realize you guys are targeting aliens, but a different kind. It's just a little too Hollywood over the top, if you ask me. So we famously know that ICE agents patrol the streets wearing masks, no identification. Were there any name badges or name tags on anybody that you interacted with at this venue?
No, not at all.
This is wild, man. This is what, I'm a real estate agent. I have to have one, like, when I go to show a house, for crying out loud. I would like to think that, like, if somebody's going to be, barging down a door or chasing down undocumented immigrants, that they have some sort of, but at least at the venue, you want to, like, do you even know the name of the woman, like, that you've heard, that you spoke to in this interview?
No idea. I spoke to an ICE agent as well. This was not part of the interview, by the way. Afterwards, you had this option to speak to an ICE agent if you wanted to about the job. Yeah. And he didn't, there was obviously no name tag there either. So.
All right, so I'm going to take a quick break and come back. We're with Laura Jadid, her piece at slate.com. She literally kind of goes behind enemy lines to apply for an ICE agent job. You can find her work, by the way, at firewalledmedia.com. More on her interloping into the ICE agency and nearly getting hired. Well, I'll tell you how this all plans out, but we don't want to give away the story too much. Again, it's at slate.com. Thank you so much for joining us. It's the Ron Show on Georgia Now, Progressive Voices via TuneIn. We are with this week's ICE enemy number one, I believe, Laura Jadid, freelance journalist. You can find her work at firewalledmedia.com, her story at Slate. She went behind enemy lines and essentially applied for an ICE job just to see how far she could get. And she got really, creepily far. Laura, fill us in on that. How far did this get?
Yeah, so like I was saying in the last segment, I submitted my application, which looks good at first glance, and then I went home back to New York City and expected to not ever hear from them again because I'm very Googleable and my opinion of ICE is very clear. And I looked out for the first couple of days just in case, but when I didn't get anything, over the first 2 or 3 days, I stopped looking, and my inbox is a disaster. So when it did come through, 7 days later, I found out, I pieced this together after the fact, but apparently about a week after I'd gotten back, I did get a tentative selection letter, which I missed and which fell to the bottom of my inbox. But that tentative selection letter had, it said, you have 48 hours to respond to this and please fill out all this paperwork. And it was the paperwork that you would expect, background check, beginning background check information, an affidavit that said I've never been convicted of a domestic violence crime, medical information, normal stuff. But, 48 hours to get that in, get 48 hours to accept, and then another 48 hours to get the paperwork in. And it said, if you don't follow up, then we're going to assume you're not interested. And so this really should be where it ended. Saying to the bottom of my inbox, I might not even know that it was there. Yeah. If a couple of weeks after that, I got another email, which I did see, saying that for the next step of my ICE application, I needed to take a drug test. Here's the thing about that. Cannabis is legal in New York City, and I had partaken about 6 days before I was supposed to get tested.
Well, now hold up. Did you do the background check? Did you sign the authorization for that?
I did not. No, I did not.
Oh. So they just
I never sent in any of that paperwork.
They just skipped right over that and wanted you to come in to take a drug test.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so cannabis, apparently you partook.
Yep, I did. So I knew I was probably not gonna probably pass this test, but why not waste some of their money, right? And you never know. I mean, I didn't smoke that much. Maybe a miracle could happen. So I went ahead, I peed in the cup, and I went home. And then I did wait to hear, because if you fail the drug test, they are supposed to tell you. Mm-hmm. So at this point, I am expecting to hear back. And I don't. And I know that, it can take up to a couple of weeks, but 9 days in, I'm really curious. I want to know. So it suddenly, a friend actually reminded, hey, you could just log into USA Jobs and go to the ICE hiring portal and see how your application is doing. Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, I should do that. So I did. And what I saw is shocking to me. Not only, the drug test hadn't been processed, but apparently it said I had a final offer for a job. It said that I had accepted the final offer for the job.
It said you had?
Yes.
Wild.
And I had an EOD that's an entry on duty date of September 30th. I'm looking at this on October 3rd. So apparently for 3 days, I had been officially...
AWOL.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good. They should probably prosecute me for that. I was, because again, I hadn't signed any paperwork. I had definitely not accepted a final offer. Hadn't accepted the tentative offer, which the portal did actually say, like, that was the pending thing under free employment checklist. The pending thing was accepting the tentative offer. Everything else, though, looked pretty good. It said that I'd completed my medical check on October 6th, which was 3 days in the future. And also that my background check had been completed on October 6th, 3 days in the future.
And you never authorized it.
No, I didn't. And I never sent them the information that they might want. And I don't personally believe that they did one.
Did they have a phone number? Did you get any calls? Did you miss any calls?
To my knowledge, I admit I don't, check every single, I don't always answer my phone because spam calls, but certainly no messages were left.
Yeah. Wild. Okay, so being the investigative journalist that you are, though, if you did miss any of those phone calls, did you at least Google check them or back up, just to follow up to make sure that any of them might have been from DHS or ICE?
I will admit I didn't do like a thorough search, but I definitely looked back through my history to see if there were numbers that looked like they could have been, and I didn't personally see one. It's possible they called and didn't leave a message, but even that would be awful if they called, it went to voicemail, and they're like, whatever, good enough,
Yeah. Oh my God, how half-assed is this? This is, I guess I would say that this is scary stuff, except that I'm at least comforted to know that they do such a piss-poor job of follow-up that they probably miss a lot of applicants who are just foaming at the mouth to join ICE.
Yeah. That is the one, the comforting part of the story is that these guys, they really try to project themselves as this like elite shock force defending the homeland, as you said. And the truth is they're not very good at this. And that's scary in itself. Untrained people with guns are scary as heck. But you also, I've seen some DRS videos where ICE agents didn't know how to throw a guy to the ground and cuff him. And I don't think they should be doing that. But that's really basic police work. That's something that should be trained. They should know how to do that you would think that they would know how, and they don't. And it just, you see these videos of these guys acting crazy. And I really think it's just, they just don't know what the hell they're doing. And that is comforting. It's not inevitable that they're going to win.
Well, but it's also a little distressing that, as you mentioned, they don't know what they're doing. And you have a mix, as we found out in Minneapolis, a mix of agents who have been in the field for a long time, who have worked for the agency for 10 years. And they're in a situation that they're unfamiliar with, too, because for a lot of them, they were working along the southern border and not in the streets of a major American city, interacting with protesters and folks that they're trying to determine their citizen status.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we are seeing it. And you see, I feel like it's an amazing microcosm of everything that's wrong with ICE because, you see these, obviously new recruits who don't know the heck they're doing. Last year they had 10,000 ICE agents. This year they have 22,000 ICE agents. That's about 120% increase. That means there are more new people than old people at ICE. But then, of course, you see Jonathan Ross, the person who murdered Renee Good, and he's been in ICE since 2017. And I think that's a good reminder that it's not like ICE was good before Trump got here. It has gotten much worse.
Yeah.
But ICE has always been an evil organization ever since its founding in 2003, and it's only gotten worse steadily over time, and then very abruptly got much, much worse when Trump came back into power.
And as I keep pointing out with Jonathan Ross, the thing that gives me the ultimate creeps isn't that he just withdrew his weapon and shot at a woman at near point blank range in the face. That's super distressing in and of itself. But that he was actually reaching for the gun or freeing his gun hand while he was at the side of the vehicle looking at Good's spouse. If you'll notice, you'll see his fingers. He is transferring the phone from his right hand to his left hand because the gun is holstered on the right side. He was preparing for gun interaction well before he was in, air quotes, harm's way in front of the vehicle. So there's that. I want to ask you about the aftermath of this article coming out. What sort of backlash are you getting from MAGA?
So overall, the result, things have been positive. Obviously, MAGA doesn't love this story, but they're having a really hard time attacking it because, frankly, in any other period of time, this would be a bipartisan issue. Even if you love ICE and you think they're doing great work, you should want them to be vetted. You shouldn't want them to be almost hiring someone like me. I have a page on Antifa Watch, for God's sake. I am not...
That's the other thing I was going to ask. What do you suppose that there might actually be folks who have done this, who are not, who could be part of Antifa, since it's such an organized organization, who have, gotten into ICE now and could at any moment just, get the signal and turn on the organization?
Yes. No, I hear the CEO of Antifa is going to send out that message anytime now.
Well, I'm waiting on my check from George Soros too, so we'll all wait on that.
He is so late. I've been waiting for years. It's not fair. It's not fair. Yep.
Absolutely.
Jerk. Yeah. But the reaction has mostly, there's been a lot of, of course, the lowest common denominator is nuh-uh, which I provided proof that yes, huh? Or, well, it's good that they hired you because that shows that they're not afraid of a diversity of opinion, which is like, what planet do you live on? I don't believe you. And not having filled out any background check information, it seems unlikely they did one at all. And then, the one where it's like, oh, well, you lied by omission, so you're going to go to jail, honey. And it's like, I understand that you enjoy imagining that, but like, that's not how the law works. So, have fun, I guess.
Listen, we've been conditioned in this country to understand that anything we post to social media or on the web is fodder for folks in HR. So why would that not be the case with the ICE or DHS hires? That stuns me.
Yeah. No, if I applied for McDonald's and I had a social media page that just said I hate McDonald's, I don't think they'd hire me.
Right.
Also, and I forgot. Actually, my favorite one is, well, you would have washed out in the physical training anyway, which is like that's 22 push-ups. I think I can do 22 push-ups without training. A 9.5-minute mile. I got through airborne school. Like, what? But also, if you're really depending on 22 push-ups to screen out bad actors, it seems like a bad strategy to me personally.
Yeah, well, also, look at what's patrolling the streets. It's like Meal Team 6 out there. We're not exactly setting the bar too high.
We're not sending their best.
All right, Laura Jadid, thank you so much for doing this work, and I know you've been at this for quite a while. We'll again address folks to check out firewalledmedia.com. We'll include your article. Yes, there's a paywall at Slate, but you can get in for $5 for the next 3 months and then cancel your subscription if you want to, or just, Slate does great work, so stick with them too. Laura Jadid, thank you so much for joining the Ron Show today. I appreciate your time.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Wow, that is a packed day and a pretty packed week. I want to thank, obviously, Margaret Cho for joining the Ron Show. How exciting is that? She's coming to the Buckhead Theater March 14th. I'll have a link so that you can get your tickets now at ronshowatl.com. I also want to thank Sterling Thrill, obviously, for joining us each and every Friday to try and find the funny in the headlines. Sterlingthrill.com. I'll include that link as well in the show notes at ronshowatl.com. And as you heard just now, Laura Jadid, the freelance journalist who applied to get a nice job and, surprise, was hired. The link to that story in the show notes at ronshowatl.com. We're on Georgia Now, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m., 8 to 10 a.m. the following weekday, 11 p.m. Progressive Voices via TuneIn and wherever you podcast. Take care. Have a great weekend.